stand corrected. So let's get started. Hello, everybody. This is the July 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Preservation Committee at Community Board 7. My name is Michele Parker. I'm the co-chair of this committee, and let's have the rest of the committee introduce themselves, or I'll introduce and you can wave. My co-chair, Karpen.
Hello.
Madge Rosenberg. Clary Newell.
Hello.
Jay Adolph. Mark Diller, who's at the helm with IT. I think that's everybody. And from our office, we have Max Vandervliet.
Hey, and I think Jessie is watching online diligently. She's texting me, so she's technically here too.
Okay, so she's the assistant district manager. Is that right? Is that what
No, associate director.
Associate director of the board. Jessie. Wait a minute, hold on. So you say she's here on the phone?
I think she's watching via YouTube. She's texting me right now.
Okay, Jessie. What happened to my brain? Nieves. We have I see one non-committee board member, Barbara Adler, here. And is that it for non-committee board members, Mark? What you can say?
I don't see anybody else. I do see somebody who I think was a colleague, a classmate in law school.
All right.
But it could be a common name. Anyway, no, I don't see anybody else among our attendees.
All right.
There's a raised hand from a Selena Lee, who I assume is a presenter at some point.
Okay.
We don't have chat, so we can't find that out. So it'll be a mystery for us.
All right, and we have Stanley Richards. Not as a panelist. How do I join as a panelist?
If you're a presenter, I guess.
Yeah, Stanley, you can just.
Is Stanley part of your presentation?
It's part of Fortune, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so when the time comes. So Michele, you gotta, okay.
Do we have anybody from 50 West 72nd Street? Here?
I'm here for 159 West 72nd Street.
Okay, that's the second one. All right.
Oh, okay.
Selena Lee, you can unmute yourself and tell us if you're here for 50 West 72nd.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
are you here for 50 West 72nd?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to promote you to panelist right now. You should be rejoining as a panelist.
And this is an application to replace existing fixed pane windows with 4/4 double hung windows. 50 West 72nd Street at Columbus. Anybody see that location from the committee?
No.
Yeah, I do. I walked by. All right.
Yeah, I walked by it, yeah.
Okay, Ms. Lee, we are ready when you are for your presentation, but you are muted.
Now it's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. First of all, so shall we start?
Yes, ma'am.
You need to share the screen, or are you?
Yeah, sure. I need to share the screens, but
Hang on one second. I do need to, I think I've now fixed that. Go ahead.
On the table.
Your letter says that you're here in front of us because the existing fixed windows were approved at the commissioner level previously.
yes, that was why. But how can I? Do you have drawings on your hand, or should I share the screen? I don't know how to share the screen. Do you have drawings?
Do you want me to pull them up? Sure. Give me 1 second and I'll do
Please,
that.
yes, please.
And yeah, I forgot to mention, committee members are going to be able to ask questions anytime during your presentation. After that, we'll have the public speak if they want to. Then we'll close that part of the hearing and the committee will discuss and draw up a resolution. Our resolution goes to our full board meeting in September. You're welcome to join us.
Okay. So now I'm in control of the drawings. So shall we start?
Please.
Okay, greetings, dear board members. I am Selena, an architect for the proposed storefront windows at the restaurant on 50 West 72nd Street. The cross street is between Columbus Avenue and Central Park West. It's an honor for me to address you, and on behalf of my colleagues, we are pleased to present a new window design to the Upper West Side. So please take a look at the entire first page. Could you go to first page? Yeah. So when you take a look at the entire building facade, so as you can see from the red dotted line, our work scope is the left two windows. And then these are currently fixed windows, and we would like to replace them with double hung, 4x4 double hung windows. So could you go to second page of the drawings?
Is there a restaurant there now?
Yes, it is open, and then you are running the business, but we would like to change the fixed current windows with the double hung windows. So could you take a look at the first drawings, the 1940s text photo at the first page? So yeah, please take a look at the 1940s text photos. So original design was in fact made of 4x4 double hung windows. However,
it looks as if the windows on the second and third floor are currently 4/4.
Yes, currently 4, and even ground floor, it was 4x4 or double hung windows.
Yeah.
But around 10 to 20 years ago, the building applied to change the double hung windows to the current fixed windows. So at that time, it was necessary to get approval at the commissioner level. So because this change was approved at the commissioner's level, even to change the things back to the way they were requires that we go through the commissioner again. So
This seems like an easy one for us.
yeah, right. Actually, we didn't have to go through the commissioner level if we go back to the way it was. But because the previous, the current fixed windows were approved at the commissioner level previously. So this is just a policy that we have to go through the commissioner's approval again.
Seems very straightforward.
Yeah, and then by replacing the fixed windows with the operational windows, then we can make this restaurant more congenial, like a semi-public space, because people can make eye contact. And then it also improves the indoor air quality through the windows natural ventilation. So the 4x4 double hung window we are installing will match the existing 4x4 double hung window, the building above. It's the same style exactly. So yeah,
Pat, you have a question?
Yeah, my
Yes.
question is, it's just the two windows and the rest of the windows on that floor are not included. Is that the same building, but you're only doing two of the windows and leaving the other?
only our restaurants. Because
Okay.
the only two windows belong to our restaurants.
Any other board member questions?
No, seems like an easy one.
Yeah, basically we would be making a relatively simple change to return one aspect of the building that it was originally. and improve the customer experience. So why not?
All right. Jay, do you have anything to say about this, or you have a question? Oh, you're muted, hon.
I agree that it's relatively simple. I mean, they're bringing back the windows to be historically accurate. I can't imagine any reason to oppose it and not to prevent anybody else from commenting, but I would call the question.
Yep.
We should just see whether anybody from the public has anything
Oh,
to say. on
sorry,
this.
sorry.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think we've got an easy one here.
Yep.
Any members of the public?
If you're a member of the public and you want to speak, please raise your digital hand there. Michelle, I'm not seeing any.
Yeah,
don't see
okay,
anybody.
sorry. All right, so we will take the vote on this resolution to approve a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing fixed pane windows at this location and this restaurant with 4/4 double hung windows, in effect returning the windows to the original condition they were pursuant to the 1940s tax map. All right, Kay, your vote?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Jay?
Yes.
Oh, Josh is not here. Paige is not here. Mr. Diller?
Yes.
Clary Newell?
Yes.
Madge Rosenberg?
Yes.
Peter Sampton?
Yes.
And Sue Schwartz is not here. And so our vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 0, 0. Are there committee board members here? I see one, Barbara Adler.
Yes, I'm voting yes as well.
All right, there's nobody else. I don't see anybody else. So the non-committee board member vote is 1, 0, 0, 0. Thank you very much. When are you calendared at LPC? Do you know, Ms. Lee?
After I think September, we have a board meeting at the community board, and then
That's right.
after, the week after that, we'll have a public hearing at the LPC.
Okay, our meeting is September 6th. The full board meeting for CB7 is September 6th.
September 13th.
13th.
Yeah.
Oh, I have an old, all right, scratch that, thank you. September 13th at 6:30.
Now, September 13th at LPC.
Oh,
Full
wait, wait,
board
wait.
is on the 6th at 6:30.
Okay,
Yes.
so September 6th is full board CB7 and September 13th is LPC. Got it. All right, thank you, Ms. Lee.
Thank you. So,
See you at the
All
next
right,
project.
thank you.
okay, shall I leave?
If you like.
Sure. Or you can stay.
Okay. Thank you so much. So,
We're
Okay,
going
thank-
down the street to 159 West 72nd.
yeah, you'll find the nice restaurant over there.
Oh, good.
It's brand new. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Kay.
Is somebody here for 159 West 72nd?
That's me.
Gary.
That's
Okay,
me.
great.
Hi, how
All
are
right.
you all doing?
Good. Welcome.
Great.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. All right, I'm just gonna share my screen really quick.
This is Genovic Plaza.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I stopped by there today. There's a lot of, the sidewalk shed is up. It was really hard to see anything.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to resolve. Can you see my screen or is there stuff in the way?
It's there.
Didn't you just renovate this about a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I feel like we've seen this.
They did a sign application a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh.
Now we're gonna be talking about the tiles.
Okay.
Um,
Because you had a big, the paint company was all over this place, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I'll go
Imagine
through
more, yeah.
the pictures so you can see what it looked like through time.
So this,
So we're,
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead if you need
No,
to
go
say
ahead. It's your
Oh, okay.
application.
All right, we're located between Columbus Avenue and Amsterdam Avenue in the district. And this is what we looked like through time. So in 1940, very different look from what was designated. It was an Art Deco known as Provident Loan Society. And then sometime in the 80s or 70s, I'm not quite sure, they went through a huge overhaul renovation here. And it looks like what it looks like today. They used clay glazed masonry tiles and a huge storefront window, which is still around to this day. The previous application, they removed this old sign and they wanted to replace all the tiles that were supposedly behind here, but there were no tiles. And those tiles no longer exist. And that's why this looks like this today. There are currently there's no one manufacturing these glazed tiles or any tiles that look like this. So what we are proposing is to try and marry what came before this to a more modern looking approach. We are proposing to remove the tiles and replace it with a stucco, cementitious stucco finish. We're going to keep the existing storefront in place, as well as the existing approved signage. And I believe it kind of fits in with the neighborhood, which I'll get in. So the whole street is kind of eclectic in style, some very ornate buildings and some very simple buildings, as you can see. And I believe it fits in if we stucco the building with the adjacent buildings next to it, as 161 and 163 both have an ephes stucco finish and a regular stucco finish, respectively. And this is just a map. So back in 1940, I did like a little photo collage here so we get the whole street. So this is 159 and it's original Art Deco cementitious finish and all the other buildings in the area. And I believe that it'll marry into the streetscape very nicely. And the reason why we want to remove the tiles is, as you can see, and I'm sure you all know, there's a shed up right now. So these tiles have been degraded and they're falling off the building. So they're popping off, they're starting to bulge, and they're no longer adhering to the masonry backup. We don't believe that installing different tiles will be a good enough solution. We fear that they will fall off as well. So that's why we want to remove them and get this through quickly so that we can remove the shed. So the client wishes to use stucco, as I've said, and we're trying to marry it in with the neighboring buildings and also get rid of these unsafe conditions and get rid of the shed. As it's costing the client money to keep the shed up, and it's also disrupting business. It's creating a dark environment for the store and for the neighborhood. There's some examples of stucco throughout the entire district. Is fairly common. So if you go down Columbus Avenue and Amsterdam Avenue, as well as some stores on 72nd Street, you will find many stucco finishes. So what we're proposing to do is remove all the tiles in their entirety, replace the metal coping at the top, and then just replace everything with a stucco finish with some joints to give it some aesthetic. And that's simply what we're proposing to do. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Are you keeping the blade signs also?
Yes, we're going to remove them temporarily as they were already approved by LPC, and once the building's restuccoed, we're going to put them back. This one's actually attached to the storefront, so it doesn't have to move at all.
I have a question. What is the maintenance on the stucco? Does it get painted periodically? As it gets dirty or whatever, how does it maintained over the years?
Yes, it will be painted over the years. And the paint color that it it's pretty fitting. It's a paint store. So he's chosen the color Wheeling Neutral, which is like an off-white beige color, which is right here. So, and it kind of blends in with the building adjacent. It's like an off-white.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Stucco at street level is not a very good idea because it's very easy to destroy it. So if you're bringing the stucco down to the sidewalk, that's not so great.
Well, the ephes is actually more damaging because it's styrofoam. We're not proposing that here. This is going to be cement, Portland cement with lime. So it's actually much sturdier than ephes. It's going to be adhered directly to the masonry.
Yeah, but I've seen stucco applied on quite a few surfaces. There's one on 88th Street near Amsterdam Avenue, at the base of some public housing there, and it was put in about 5 years ago, and it's completely damaged now. People put holes right in it. They take a screwdriver or something and knock a hole right into the stucco.
If there's a hole in it, it's likely ephes. So ephes is only like a 1/8 inch application over styrofoam. That will likely get a hole in it. This, we're talking about almost an inch of cement. This is a more historic application. What you're referring to is more modernized, cheaper option of stucco.
Could I jump in?
Of course.
On this, Michelle?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. So I think the color is appropriate, and the closer you can get it to the other Art Deco-y looking building at 160, I guess it's 163. So much the better. I'm no big fan of stucco either, but I understand the need for it here. I guess the point stucco often has different surfaces or surface feel. Sometimes it can be almost like sandpaper, and then sometimes it can be fairly smooth, almost like limestone or something like that. For an application like this, with going down to the street level and trying to blend in with that street, I would think the smoother you can make it, the more it'll blend in and be appropriate. Can you comment on that?
Agreed. We would prefer, and the client would prefer, a smoother application as well.
It would probably be easier to paint too if it were smoother.
Yes.
All right.
They have a lot of paint.
Oh yeah, they definitely know paint.
Anybody else have a question on the committee?
I think we should have a resolution to approve, and we all are aiming for an 8 o'clock deadline tonight too.
Yeah, but I want to ask, is there any, are there any non-committee board members who want to pose a question, or any members of the community? No? Okay, so let's.
Maybe you can stop sharing the screen now.
Sure.
The question is called to, for a resolution to approve the certificate of appropriateness to replace the current storefront with a smooth stucco. And that's it. You're keeping the blade signs. You're keeping the sign. You're not removing the sign in the middle of the building. And all right, so I'm going to ask for your vote, Kay.
I'm in favor.
All right, me as well. Jay?
Yes.
Thank you. Josh is not here, and Paige, you're not here yet. Mark?
I'm here.
All right.
I'm sorry, yes, I vote yes.
Yeah, Clary? Oh,
Yes, Sue has joined us as well. Susan has joined us.
Okay.
too. Yes, I'm a yes.
Madge?
Yes.
Thank you. Peter?
Yes.
Thank you. And Sue?
Yes, if I'm allowed to vote. I checked it out before I got here.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Can you make a note in the minutes that my flight got in like 40 minutes early at JFK? We got a cab first thing.
Wow.
Where
What's
are
wrong?
you?
I'm in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's right.
did you also buy a lottery ticket? Because it's the
Mm.
day.
Obviously, your lucky day.
Well, no,
Did you get
because
luggage and everything?
no, we carried it on. But the thing is, we left Seattle where it was 73 degrees and clear blue skies, and I came back here. So I don't think I want to play the lottery today.
Yeah, maybe not.
All right, so this resolution passes with a vote of 8-0-0-0. Are there any non-committee board members here? Barbara, is still only one. Do you want to vote?
Yes, I do. I think it's a big improvement. I vote yes.
All right, so non-committee board members, 1-0-0-0. Thank you. We will see you at LPC when?
So I actually hadn't scheduled it yet because I know that we have to go to the September 6th meeting, but I believe now that we went through this, I can talk to the LPC preservationists and ask them when we should schedule.
All right,
Great.
after,
Let us
or
know.
any date after our full board
After
meeting. Thank
September
you.
6th. Okay,
Thank
thank you
Mrs.
very
Brown.
much. Have a great
Thank you,
day, everyone.
everybody. You too. All right.
Take care. Thanks.
Now we have a 780 West End Avenue. Anybody from the, is an applicant here for 780 West End Avenue? Okay, great, thanks. This is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for a master window, for a master plan for window replacement and through the wall AC unit sleeves. All right.
Yes.
Who do we, what is your name? And we're ready for your presentation. And will you be sharing your screen, Mr. Furman?
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Helge Furman, Furman Architecture, and I'm presenting today the master plan application for window replacement and the through the wall AC sleeves at 780 West End Avenue. I'm going to share the screen now. So this building is 780 West End Avenue. It's at the corner of West 98th Street and West End Avenue. The main entrance is at the West 98th Street side. So this is one of the two photos from the 1940s with the entrance here on the left side. Here one can see the windows a little bit better. This is the designation photo from 2015, and this is the photo how it currently is. So since the designation, nothing has changed as far as I could see. And here's a closer up of the tax photo and the current conditions. You can see that currently all windows are 1/1. Some of them are molded together because the windows are relatively wide. So the owners decided to go with a cheaper option and molding two together, what is creates a somewhat different look. And in the 1940s, you can see that the two street facades had like different types of windows there with muntins, divided lights. So here one can see it. The smaller ones had just one vertical muntin, the making of 2/2 window. The wider ones had two muntin locations there, creating a 3/3 window, but they are still very small and, in the overall, impression of the building, I think they did not stick out so much, they were barely visible. So what we are proposing, this is other views. This is along 98th Street side where one can see only the side of the building barely. And this is just the corner impression with the 1/1 windows and some of them the molded together windows. Here, view up north on West End Avenue. This here is the building. It's fits very well in the streetscape. Some more, photos from the Western Avenue facade, and these are the Courtyard rear facades. From 87th Street, one can see partially through the gap in the street front the windows of the courtyard from the street. Here's some more close-up photos. This is the main Western Avenue facade, and the two windows that are still historic in this building are in the courtyard, and that's these two stellar windows. Here one can see that they are wood windows, and the brick mold has a slight bead to it. So this is what we are trying to, this detail, what we are trying to match. So these are the Western Avenue facade as it is existing on the left. It's all 1/1 windows, some of them all together. And we are proposing to replace them all with the master plan with 1/1 windows. All just 1/1 windows, no mold together windows to create a more uniform look. It's the Western Avenue facade. We're just clicking through the facades now. This is the 98th Street facade. So again, it will be one uniform look on the facade. Then the same, these are the courtyard facades where indeed we would like to keep some of these mold together windows. And so I should go back, because we're also proposing the through the wall window sleeves in only locations where there's plain brick, not where there's some decorative limestone around the window, so only where there's like the plain brick. On the Western Avenue facade, it's actually just these three locations. And on the 98th Street facade, it's only one row where we are proposing it, because on the front here, that's the corner, the window around the corner seems to be the better suited for it. This is the courtyards, again with the uniform windows and through the wall window sleeves. Same here, same on this facade. It's clicking it through. So this is the standard elevations of the street facade windows. So historic was like 2/2 window. What is existing is the 1/1 window, and that is what we are proposing to replace it with. It's the 1/1 window again. The wider windows were historically 3/3. Currently there, this which have still intact 1/1 windows there, also just 1/1, and we are replacing it hopefully with also 1/1 windows. So for the details, I'm showing here the one historic window in the courtyard that was it still had the beaded brick mold. That's what we are proposing to replicate here with an aluminum brick mold, and then the aluminum replacement windows that go with it. And these are just 1/1 windows in the secondary courtyard facades. This is a detail for the through the wall AC sleeves. The face of the grill will be flush with the face of the brick, and the colors of the windows and of the AC sleeve will be like a light limestone color to be similar to the actual limestone around the windows, and then a light color also for the AC louver to match the brick. And this is last page is showing historic and the current photo.
Okay. Questions?
You know, this is a lot of detailed pages.
Yeah.
So here you see there's one through the wall sleeve already.
Yeah.
So we would propose with master plan to install sleeves along this window line and then along these two window lines, two and then on just this one here in the back to keep the corner, you know, just one AC unit because it's one room behind there. So we only want to have one AC unit per room.
Okay, Jay?
Yeah, if it's okay, I have a question and then a comment. I just want to make sure I understand that the 2/2s are one window.
Yes.
They're not two separate windows, correct?
No, they just have Munten, like this vertical
okay.
dividing
So
bar.
they're 2/2s. So my observation in terms of how we generally treat these applications, we look at what currently constitute a substantial majority of windows already in place if they're not historic windows. And another standard that we generally apply is whether or not the nature of the historic windows is an important architectural characteristics of the building. For example, you know, if there are very ornate features on a building and so forth, we're generally more lenient in terms of deviating from the historic windows. My initial impression of this is as to the first thing, and obviously I didn't count all the windows, but it seemed to me at first glance and second glance that there were about as many historic windows as there are newer 1/1 windows.
Sorry, may I interrupt? Sorry to do that. There's no historic window existing. All of the existing windows on the street and also on the courtyard facades are replacement aluminum windows with aluminum paneling. It's really just the one photo on the courtyard facade that I was showing that is still historic.
Okay, so the current 2/2 windows are not the original windows, but they are the original configuration, is that?
No, sorry if I might not have.
So what was the historic configuration?
So here, let me go to, so this is the two street facades, yes, are the main concern. So they were the smaller ones where this was the historic configuration with the, you know, bar on the vertical bar here, and then the bigger ones are two vertical bars. And existing are all aluminum replacement windows that are currently 1/1. So some of them are also replacement aluminum windows, but they were just mulled together, two different windows in one opening. So that is a completely non-historical situation. You just go back to the photos. So here you can see it. It's one double hung window and another double hung windows that are mulled together.
Okay, so that's my first question is they are separate windows.
Yeah.
Yes, they are separate windows, all non-historic.
Well, okay, but the two separate windows which give the appearance of 2/2, was that the historic configuration? That's what I'm trying to figure.
No, the historic configuration for these wider windows was the 3/3 that had two vertical
3 oh, okay, okay.
Thank you. Mark, you have a question?
Question and a comment too, I guess. So the existing windows are replacement aluminum, whatever configurations, they're all currently aluminum?
Yes, they're all replacement aluminum with aluminum paneling.
Okay. I noticed that the proposal for the air conditioning sleeves, I'm pleased that you are not proposing to put them in the more decorated columns of windows, but they don't seem to be symmetrically arranged on either of the two primary facades. So you've got them on some, but not all of the windows on West End Avenue. It doesn't go all the way down to the ground floor. And on 98th Street as well, if I remember correctly, it's just the eastern column of windows, and then again doesn't go all the way down. Yeah, there it is.
All right. They don't go down because there we have the limestone cladding.
Yeah.
So I'm proposing to put them only where there's plain brick on the facade.
So, you've explained to Jay's question adequately why it appears as though there's divided light windows, but there really aren't. I guess my comment, if we're ready for that, is that I agree with Jay that the standard for this ought to include the level of detail and ornamentation on the primary facades. I'm happy to let you do what you want on the secondary facades. And that I think this building qualifies with just enough, maybe barely enough, but just enough original detail in order to replace the glazing with the 1/1. So I would favor that, but the same analysis leads me to be very concerned about the through the wall sleeves, precisely because it's that ornamentation that you would be interrupting if you made it symmetrical, and not to make it symmetrical is a problem for me. So I think I'm splitting my vote here and supporting the 1/1, but opposing the sleeves. That's where I am right now. I'm happy to listen to my colleagues. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. All right, Clary?
Right. Well, I wasn't planning to say anything, but I will now refute the remarks of my colleague, Mr. Diller. I am totally fine with all of this. I think it's a thoughtful and least intrusive way to deal with not the world's most distinguished building, but it's a fine building. Because of the room configuration behind the air conditioners, the way that they have proposed doing the air conditioning sleeves makes sense to me. It's probably the only thing that makes sense, and I respect that as they get to the couple of floors at the bottom of the building, they are not proposing to do this because there's the limestone facing there. So I personally think they've about optimized what they're doing here, and applaud that there is going to be a master plan, and I would go for the whole thing.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Jay, your hand's still up, but I assume you've said your piece, yes?
I don't know if Paige has to be admitted.
I'm on it.
Panelist.
Great.
Could you help us out, Mark? And we'll ask her if she has something to say. Can you admit her, Mark? Thank you.
She should be able to unmute herself now.
Great.
I'm done.
Hi, Paige.
What a marathon. Thank you for, I've been listening for about the last 10 or 15 minutes about this. The problem I have with this building is, and buildings like it, the master plan really should set in motion something that is going to be permanent and lasting and appropriate for the building. And when I look at the proposed window design and where the buttons go, it looks, I hate to say it, and I'm sure it's going to be as expensive as hell, But I would go the extra 9 yards and put back the original windows. You're going to all this trouble to do this. And it makes the building look the way it should look with the divided light. So right now I'm sitting on the fence and I don't think I can support the application as is. There are just too many different sized windows, different placements within the architectural modeling of the stonework, and with special window types that we should deviate. This building screams for putting it back the way it was. That's it.
What about the AC units, sleeves, excuse me?
Well, that's another issue too. That's the, if you put the AC units underneath a full restoration and it's done well and it all looks the same, then it will fit because now you have good windows and an alteration that brings the building up to a higher livable standard.
Right.
Okay, Susan?
I agree with Paige.
Jay, did you want to say something again?
Yes.
Okay, and then Madge.
I had a question. Is with the master plan being proposed, is the building requiring replacement of windows, or is it going to be, bit by bit, depending on the individual? I assume this is a co-op. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So it's going to be up to the individual shareholders, but there's no requirement that windows be replaced. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think there will be a requirement.
So then my comment that, we've dealt with this before, that if there was, going to be a mass or complete replacement of the windows, I would agree with Paige. But what's likely to happen is, even if someone decided to replace the windows with the historic 3/3s, or it was required, it's literally going to be generations, if at all, before all of the windows are replaced. So we go from a hodgepodge of 2 different types of windows to a hodgepodge of 3 different types of windows. And ultimately, we generally prefer the historic configuration of the windows, but I don't think that 1/1s and also modernizing, if you will, the facade of this with air conditioning sleeves, I don't think it's inappropriate. It may not be the most desirable, but I prefer to see consistency in terms of the appearance of these buildings than I do generations more of a hodgepodge of windows. So while I'm not excited about it, I think I can support the application as is.
Okay. Thanks, Jay. Madge?
I don't agree with Jay, because I think you have to start somewhere if you're going to have a master plan, even though you can't make everybody do it right away. My question is, did we ever see a historic 3/3 picture of what it actually looked like?
Go back to the 1940s tax photo.
And is this actually something that's possible, or are we talking about impossibility?
So, a little hard to tell.
Yeah.
This is the 3/3s. I don't see 3/3s here.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's like here, you see the vertical mountain and then the wider windows, these 3.
3/3.
4 actually. It's like a smaller one, 2/2, then the, I think these are the bathroom windows, 1/1,
Mr. Furman, could you stop sharing your screen, please?
Sure.
I think I can help. So
Just
here,
a minute.
now I'm zooming in a little bit here.
Okay.
Oh, great.
I see.
So these are the same windows that Mr. Furman was just referring to,
Correct.
but I think you
Yeah.
can see what it looked like before.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Clary?
Clary, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to add that I agree with what Jay just said with regard to what would never or
Lovely.
take forever to happen. What is this one that's just
Where'd
pictured?
that come from?
My
Nice pic-
photo.
Is everybody looking at yellow flowers?
It's one of the
Yeah.
window boxes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if this building, if this were not a master plan situation, this would sound a lot like my own building where, as it happens, we had an application a month or two ago where LPC was requiring 3/1s, which was the historic configuration, even though there were almost none left in the building. But given that LPC encourages master plans, and so do we, and the realities of the master plan, of how this master plan or anyone would work. I mean, we certainly know that there are people who might otherwise replace their windows who would do it a lot sooner with 1/1s than they would do it with 3/3s. So an example here in my own building. So anyway, I don't mean to be wordy about this, but I agree with Jay, and I would stay with an approval of both parts of it.
Can I jump in at that point?
Okay, and then Paige.
Oh, okay, thanks. So I'm still back at the sleeves, the air conditioning sleeves, because there is a point that I agree with Jay that when we do approve these kinds of changes from the original, it is in part in service of the consistency over perhaps the more authentic. But if we're not having an immediate implementation of this plan, then allowing the master plan with these sleeves means that we'll end up with a checkerboard for quite a while before we end up with the neat columns of through the wall AC sleeves that you saw in the presentation. The presentation shows it as if it were all implemented, when in fact it may take quite a bit of time. And that concerns me with interrupting the original fabric of the building to create these sleeves. I appreciate that the way the apartments are configured does drive what you can and can't do with this. I continue to, while I would like to say that only the original configuration is appropriate, I remember 777 West End Avenue, which I believe is directly across the street from this building, which we approved as having 1/1 in place of the divided light. The LPC went 3 rounds on it, but eventually got there too. So their guidance on this is a little hard to suss out. But anyway, so I continue to be concerned about the sleeves. I'll shut up now. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Paige?
I had a question relating to the, and I just saw it on the historic photograph, the tax map from 1940. Can you show that again?
Yes.
Yeah, Mark.
Shall I share the screen or? you?
We'll do it.
I think Mark has it.
All right, because when I look at the windows, I see on the corner very clearly the vertical mullion that divides the narrow column. As you move out to the other windows, it looks like they're Venetian blinds and not in 3 pieces. Am I just so tired that I'm hallucinating? Because it doesn't have the same shadow line, and maybe the applicant can shed some light on this, because in the old days, window shades were provided, if this was a rental building, with the apartments. So everything would look the same. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at if this is the only evidence that we have, that we make sure that this was a divided, triple upper sash divided light window or whatever. Okay? But when I look at it, it doesn't look to me as if the windows are that. They all look the same with, as I said, Venetian blinds, except for some in deep shadow at the bottom. Can anybody clarify that?
I see what you mean.
I agree.
Interesting
That's
thought.
why I was so.
It looks like 3/3 to me,
Yeah, me too.
Where?
right where the cursor is.
Where the cursor is. Yeah.
Yes, but the thing is, the vertical mullion, if you compare it to the vertical mullion on the ones that are on the single window, it looks like it's in alignment with the window. And I'm not going to bet my silk pajamas on this one, but I'm worried that we're misreading an enlarged photograph that doesn't really tell the story. And I would be happier if the applicant would go through the agony of locating another historic image or even the original drawings for this building. They probably exist before casting a vote. I'm sorry to be so pedantic, but I've made this mistake myself in my own practice, and I've learned to be cautious.
Well, how would it make a difference page?
Because then you have a window that you can actually measure that looks exactly like the one that you wanted to put in. If we're going back and taking the trouble and the applicant is doing this research on a tax map photograph from 1940, I want to be damn sure that what we are looking at is not the equivalent of seeing through the window and seeing Venetian blinds, because it seems odd to me, but I may be wrong. So what I'm going to do to make life easy for everyone, I'm going to sit this one out. And if I have some time next week, I'm going to research this and I'll help the applicant try to find a better image. I just want to be clear in what we're advocating in terms of inappropriate. I think the only other thing that concerns me, this view shows medallions underneath the windows. I didn't see them in the original picture. I mean, the current photo. So I would be sad. I just hope they're not going to penetrate those. All the AC units are going to go into unmedallioned openings.
They are.
Okay.
That's what the applicant said, Paige, I
Excellent.
believe, right?
Okay, well, you've got
So-
50% of my vote. Thank you.
So back to the medallions, we just go back to the existing windows or existing photo. So we are not replacing any AC sleeves in those locations, only in this window on the very left corner, and then the two center windows, where that AC sleeve is, and then the two center windows between those two vertical bands with the limestone, exactly to not touch the more ornamental limestone areas. So the windows or the AC sleeves will only go where there's the plain brick. And do you mind going to the first page, to the other tax photo, to talk about the window configuration on the far left? So I believe when one zooms in, there's one other photo on the left that has a slightly.
Oh, much clearer. Yes, thank you.
So here's a photo from the other perspective. And I believe also if you zoom in, that the vertical mountains one can see, they are not at the same plane, because I know what you mean with those blinds. But I believe that here, the lower sash is further in than the outer sash, or the upper sash is further out, and you can see the step in the mountains.
Right.
So I don't know if that's just helping or not helping for making the argument for the 1/1 windows, but I believe those are real mountains and not the blinds behind.
solves
Well,
the mystery.
I yield to my colleagues. I will vote for the window AC, but I will not vote on the window replacement itself until I can feel sure. And if I'm lucky, I will share with the committee and it will be forwarded to you. It will only take a day or two for me to find it, if there is a picture.
Is it the intent then to split this into two parts?
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Okay,
I'm going to split the vote in two parts.
And that means that I can just sit this one out, Michelle, and make life easy for the voting.
However you want to do it, because I'm going to do windows and then you AC.
Yeah, perfect, perfect.
okay.
Anybody from, any other comments from the committee? Any comments from non-committee board members?
Sorry, I don't understand. So we're not going to split it up?
We are going
We
to.
are.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And
Yes.
Paige, what does that mean? You're going to sit it out?
I'm not going to vote for that element.
Okay, okay.
And if I find the answer, I'll share it with everyone and then sheepishly acquiesce and say, I made a boo-boo. But I need to, I've been through this too many times with old pictures and they can be misleading. I'm not saying that the applicant has done anything wrong. He's got the right picture, the right attitude, everything. I just want to be sure of my vote. But I don't want to
make a modest bet?
What?
I said you want to make a modest bet?
Anyone but you, my dear.
All right, so I asked for non-committee comments from non-committee board members. I'm now asking, and I see none, any comments from the community?
There's Marissa Rinaldi who was in the Q&A. She hasn't raised her hand, but you might want to look at the Q&A answer.
Okay.
There's no open questions.
No
It
open
says,
questions.
it said, I agree as a community member with Paige, the older window design is gorgeous.
Okay. Anybody else want to make any comments before we proceed to a motion to approve the application? We're splitting it in windows and sleeves, windows on one vote, sleeves on the other vote. And so that's that. A motion to approve the application as presented. I think all of our questions were answered. And I'll start with you, Susan. So, no?
This is,
okay.
This is just on part A, right? The window.
This will be on the, I'll do the windows first. Okay. Jay.
Yes.
K.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Paige, you're saying you're abstaining?
Yes. Maybe no, maybe yes.
Jeez.
That's abstaining. All right. Mark,
Windows, yes.
Clary,
Yes.
Madge,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes,
and Sue.
Yes,
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor of the windows as presented in the application. We have no disapprovals, 1 abstention, and no abstaining for cause on the windows. Any non-committee board members, their vote. Barbara on the windows?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's 1, 0, 0, 0. All right, now on the AC unit, sleeves, K,
Yes.
and I am a yes. J,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Mark,
No.
Clary,
Yes.
Madge,
Yes.
Peter,
yes,
and Sue.
yes,
All right, for committee members, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions, no abstention for cause. Any, Barbara, your vote on the air conditioning sleeve?
Yes. Yes, also.
Thank you. 1, 0, 0, 0. So the motion passes, the resolution is approved by our committee. It still has to go in front of the full board. And did I get your LPC date? Do you know that date yet?
So it's supposed to be September 13th.
September 13th. And you know our full board meeting is the 6th. We'll vote on as a full board on the 6th of September. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time and listening to this presentation.
And the same for you. And I hope this goes swimmingly or smoother anyway.
Hope so too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, on to the next. We've got 353 Riverside Drive on between 107 and 108. Application for Cert of Appropriateness for vertical extension, existing elevator shaft, and addition of a mechanical room. So who's here for that application? Jessica.
I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Hi, Peter.
Okay.
Hi, Peter. Thank you.
Bye.
Hi.
Be well, Peter.
Nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
All right, welcome. Please proceed. You can take yourself off mute.
Of course, I was muted. Thank you very much, everybody, for finding the time for this presentation for us. My name is Francesco Bruni. I'm the architect of record for this scope of work. And here I have to my left my associate, Cayetano Witkowski, who has worked with me on this presentation. Great. So as Mr. Karpen was mentioning, this is for a vertical extension of an existing elevator shaft. We are on a property that is on the block between 107 and 108, and Riverside to the west and West End Avenue to the east. This property sits on the Riverside side in the middle of the block. Would you like me to share my screen so that I can go through the presentation?
Perfect. Certainly.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see it? Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yes.
Okay, so 353 Riverside Drive. Riverside Drive is a property that has a sister building to the south, 352 Riverside Drive, that you can see partially on this introduction photograph. It's a 5-story property. The scope of work is on the main roof. The historical photo that we found is unfortunately doesn't have the greatest resolution. It is this view from Riverside Drive, almost on the river, where we can see the block from the southwest corner. So this lighter building here is the 351 Riverside Drive at the corner with Riverside and 107. This darker southern exposure is the south facade of 352 Riverside Drive. So the property that is the subject of this proposed scope is right here, basically, on the north side of that sister buildings. More updated photos. These are views from the street. So before we go through these views, let me just give you a general narrative of what has taken, what process basically took us here.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Is it
Yes.
possible to make the pictures larger?
I can enlarge my screen. Were you requesting this main one to be larger or the smaller one on the side?
Great.
Mark, can you help out here?
That's helpful.
So the So the properties had an elevator was built in 120 years ago, in 1899, 1900. The elevator, there was an elevator already in the building. Unfortunately, because of the age of the elevator and the compliance with the code, this elevator had to be taken out of commission in 2020. So there has been already 2 years that the resident of this building basically found themselves suddenly in a walk-up building. So the ownership went through the due diligence to find the most efficient way to put a new elevator back in service and explore the possibility, because of the elderly population of this building, eventually to explore the possibility of bringing the elevator up to the roof, because until 2020, the elevator was only serving the up to the 5th floor, the top floor. So if I can go to the next page, there is an existing bulkhead. The bulkhead.
I'm sorry, can you get rid of this? I have something on my screen that says 1 or more updates are available. Can you just hit remind me later?
I think that's on you.
I think that's you. That's you.
That's me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't recognize that.
We promise to remind you later, Michele.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Along with your car insurance.
Yeah.
So the elevator, the existing elevator shaft sits approximately 40 feet back from the street facade. It is approximately 8 feet tall bulkhead that I can show you quickly. I'm going to go slightly back and forth with these slides. It is right here. This is the existing elevator shaft. That it has only basically a door accessing the gears, the existing gears, and behind the existing elevator shaft, there is a 23 feet tall brick chimney that is shared with the southern property, 352 Riverside Drive. There is a party wall in between the two the two properties at the property line. So what the proposed scope entails is basically extending the existing elevator shaft to reach approximately the height of the brick chimney that is in the back. It shall be said that the similar scope of the similar extension of the elevator shaft was implemented on the southern side of the chimney. So what the ownership is aiming to achieve is something that will reflect what is on the other side of the property line. So the proposed scope will basically extend this existing bulkhead approximately up to this level.
That's 23 feet?
Why?
It is, the total is 23 feet. The reason that we found ourselves within this dimensional constraint is because we had extensive conversation with an elevator company that was a vendor that was retained to prepare the shop drawings for this scope of work, and the shop drawings basically required that the minimum the minimum vertical height to achieve this scope of work was 8 feet for the elevator, for the car ride to arrive to the roof, and an additional 7 feet for the elevator machine room on top of it.
So did you, excuse me, did you say that the neighboring building to the twin building to the south, 352, that it already has an elevator shaft that extends as high as the chimney?
Yes, yes, that's correct. It is. It was. You can see it partially on this side view. but you can, if I go quickly through the, unfortunately, this is a little bit grayed out, but this is pretty much the proposed elevator modification in terms of volume that is on the 353 side, and this is the existing one that is on 352 side, on the south side of that chimney.
And do you have photos from a public way that show us the existing, what is seen from opposite, from the park?
Yes.
Or currently? That'll
Yes,
help us
I
today.
do.
Okay.
I'm going to scroll quickly, and then eventually we can come back to these technical views. So like I was saying, this is basically where we are in terms of key plan. We have prepared the mock-up of this proposed bulkhead. And you will see, this is basically the tip of the chimneys visible from far away from approximately 108th Street, but on the Riverside Drive side. This is even further away. This is a rendering of what we are proposing. So you will see that it will be minimally visible from very far away. We are proposing, we are open for discussion, but we are proposing as a finishes to blend this volume within the same material fabric of the urban landscape that is surrounding. And I have a view from the roof side, which I am going to. Okay, this is again from the river side. And so this is from the southwest corner on 107th Street. So the orange netting that you see here is basically the mock-up. In a second, you will see it from the roof side. So you see the existing brick. Unfortunately, the resolution is not the greatest. You see the existing chimney in the red brick. You see the stucco finish of the existing extension on 352 Street side. And what you see in the back here is the orange netting of the proposed mock-up with the extension.
So what are those two things sticking up on top? Yeah.
Well, we have reviewed the mechanical code, and based on the mechanical code, the chimney must extend 3 feet minimum above any surrounding structure within 10 feet of a horizontal distance.
So you also have two chimney extensions on top of the existing chimney.
Correct.
Okay. That was not clear at all.
Yeah, no, I was going to get to that because this is, thanks for bringing that up right away. This is a part of the extension. So if I go quickly back to the CAD drawings, that will be basically shown on this. Where do we have that, Caetano? This one here, the 3 feet approximately extension over the proposed new elevator shaft. Going back to the roof, I was going to show you the views from the roof level. So this is the mock-up of the proposed volume. So you see behind the orange netting, you see the chimney, you see the existing elevator in the back. So on the right side, you can see the proposed finishes that we have indicated on this presentation. So emphasize the verticality of this shaft using the same material, the historical material of the chimney and the surrounding building, and having the elevator machine room, which cannot be part of the shaft because the shaft is only 4 by 5, 4 feet by 5 feet. So it cannot have any mechanical gears in it. So everything had to be brought outside. So this proposed mechanical elevator machine room will possibly mimic the finishes of the existing machine room that is on the 352 Riverside side. And this is basically the view from the west looking east of the existing condition. We have had, like I mentioned previously, extensive conversation with the elevator machine room to try to maintain to a minimum possible the vertical distance, but just for the code compliance, the 8 feet plus 7 for the elevator for the elevator machine room is 15 feet plus the curb on the side, the hoist. Basically, that gets us to a total from the existing roof level of 23 feet that we will, and then the existing chimneys to be extended a couple of feet over the existing. Because right now there are, although you don't see them here on this photo because of the perspective, there is like a foot of the existing chimney. So we will raise them another 2, most likely, from the existing elevation. What make us feel confident about this presentation is that yes, it is. We are aware there is a volume that will be added to the building, but visually, especially from the primary facade side, the impact seems to be minimal. Of course, I'm going to leave it up to you experts, and I look forward to hear your feedback. But this view do seem to hide, that do seem confirm that being recessed helped from the primary facade. I look forward to answer any question and any comments that you might have.
Jay,
Sorry?
do you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be brief. Is it ideal? No, I think it's substantially mitigated by the fact that it's backing up to a twin next door. Considering the height, it's about as minimally visible as it could be. And frankly, I think we have to consider the fact that you cannot have a 5-story building with a rooftop with, as the presenter said, some elderly residents not having an elevator. And if this is what it takes to comply with the code, I think it's done. I think it's acceptable enough so that I can support it.
Okay, Clary?
Right. So I have a couple questions first. Is this a multiple dwelling? Multiple apartments?
To my knowledge, this is a co-op with 1 apartment per floor.
Okay, right.
2 apartments per floor, 10 units.
Sure.
Oh, thank you, Joel.
Thanks. Okay, so the purpose of the extension of the elevator bulkhead is to have the elevator not just serve, the elevator currently serves the top floor, is that right? But you want it to serve the roof? Is that right?
Yeah, the existing elevator that is no longer existing because it's been 2 years removed. It was going up to the 5th floor on.
So it's not as if there was a floor that didn't have an elevator accessing it. This additional height would be in order to have the elevator also go up to, and one could step out onto the roof. Is that?
As it does on the twin building, the adjacent.
Right, I understand that. That's, so it's not as if you're giving people an elevator to reach their apartments that they didn't have before. I would also note that the visibility with the mock-up is shown with trees because it's summertime. I mean, you've done the right thing. You've made the mock-up, you've taken the photos, but it could be considerably more visible when the trees are not in flower. I think it's kind of borderline for me because I don't see a strong motivation, and I haven't heard a strong motivation to get people up and out to the roof in this particular building. These are really very spectacularly elegant buildings, and functionally, people with a new elevator that is as high and goes as high as the prior now dead elevator, everybody's going to get to their apartments. We haven't heard anything about a roof deck or a roof garden or any functional use of the roof that would require that, or that would be the rationale for extending the elevator upward by a floor and then having this whole new bulkhead thing. I do tend to agree with Jay, however, that argument or that thought is somewhat mitigated by the fact that 352 already is up there. So I'm kind of borderline. I guess with my questions answered, I'm not sure where I'll go. I want to hear what other people have to say.
May I respond
Sure.
as
Please
president of the board? The roof amenity is treasured because of the views, and everybody in the past has made as much use of it as possible. That said, the stairs from the 5th floor are becoming difficult for some. And I think the design and the capability of going to the roof was inspired by the adjacent property, which does the same.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Paige?
Yeah, I've been looking up the designation and learning more about the building. Can you go back? Well, 3 questions first. Currently, there is an elevator that serves all 5 floors.
It's been out of service because the equipment failed.
But you're putting it back in the same shaft that was there before.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, so that minimizes the disturbance to the, because I understand there are 10 apartments in this building?
Correct.
Front and back? Okay, so now we can jump to your presentation. Could you show the elevation of what you're proposing up against? There we go. My question is this. Why is it jacked up so high? Because with current elevators, the elevator machine room can be located adjacent to the top floor with a small overrun. And when you mentioned, I think my colleague's request was how tall is it? And you said 23 feet. That is just air captured in a volume. And then you have this caged ladder for maintenance. I don't understand why this on conventional elevators for brownstones of this small nature, because it's only going to be able to accommodate what maximum, depending weight, only 3 people, if I am served correct, my memory. This seems like an awful lot of construction for with not much improvement to the roof. I mean, the chimneys that are stacked and sloped, it's not a very habitable or inviting environment. And anyway, my last comment is I really don't understand why you need a 22'8" overrun for the top of the elevator for this building. I'm assuming it's traction.
But no, it's a gearless overhead machine.
A gearless, okay, thanks. Please answer. Thank you.
I can explain all of this in Francesco, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Joel. You are the elevator expert on this project.
Yeah, I've been studying this for years.
Leading elevators since last year. Go ahead.
Knowing that this equipment was going to fail, I've been studying all the options for years. So what has to happen is the machine has to sit in the shaft above the top of the car. And the minimum clearance requirement from the landing of that topmost floor to get clearance to the bottom of the machine, basically the floor where you're servicing the machine, is some 13 feet. And the machine room provides access from the rear to that machine so that it can be maintained. That's why it has to be at that height in this case. The other thing worth noting is there's the spatial constraints are so unforgiving that there are obstacles to the west, to the north, and even to the east. But by having the machine room high, we clear the obstacle to the east and we mitigate the problems of visibility and appearance because it's further to the rear of the building. So what this does is it intrudes as little as possible onto the roof deck, and we think the enjoyment of the roof deck.
Well, you brought up another point. The chimneys that are stacked and sloped that pass underneath, they're still active chimneys?
Those are active air vents, and they're actually they're attached at the joist under the roof and the ceiling below. Yes, they're active.
And those are bathroom vents, right, Joel, if I remember correctly?
And the Department of Buildings is aware of that as vents with the construction over the top of them? I know this is a landmarks issue, but I'm just surprised. I appreciate the gymnastics that you've gone through to make a bad situation better, but I'm not sure that all of this is warranted on top of the existing building. I've been reading more about it, and the other building is pristine in terms of just very simple modifications with no competition in height of adding something that's 23 feet.
The other building has, even though it has access to the roof, the machinery is below.
Yes. So it's a tough one for me. I'm not sure I can support this. I would like to see if you are not pressed for time and urgency is to find a better way to not call such attention to this roof. I mean, the new railings, the caged ladder, the post, everything up here is alien to, and what is it, a 1909 building. And I think it merits a second look.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you. I now understand why you've got the Eiffel Tower arrangement holding up that mechanical room. I start with the premise that, of course, you should have an elevator for this building, both for ADA purposes and for ease of access to the roof. That makes perfect sense. With the building immediately to the south having a much more modest construction, I'm still not satisfied that the right machinery is being installed if it requires this volume to be added. So I'm at a loss here. I know we have seen. I have no objection to the elevator overrun per se. 23 feet seems to be way more than you need, given that the answer to a previous question of a colleague was that there was an overrun of 7 or 8 feet required and another 7 feet for something else, which adds up to 15, leaving 8 more that are either unaccounted for or could be the mechanical room that you've got sort of cantilevering out over the side. I appreciate that you're making it cantilever to the east and therefore away from the public view. But both from an appearance standpoint, and after all, that's what we're here for, is the appearance of these things, not the mechanics of it per se. But it doesn't look like something that belongs on the roof of such a remarkable building. One of the standards that we often apply in this committee and in our board is whether the utilitarian and mechanical equipment on the roof of a building blends in with the sort of typical rooftop structures that don't call attention to themselves. And I don't think this meets that standard because of now maybe it's just the fact that you've got it highlighted in a different color, which I don't understand. But between the metal framing, the Juliet balcony, and the light colored addition sort of hanging off to the side, this does call attention to itself. And so it's very hard to support it, especially given the answer to the earlier question of 15 feet somehow becoming 21, 23 feet. So perhaps that's a question, perhaps that's just a comment, but I want you to have your elevator. I just don't think that you're there yet. Thanks.
I can address the questions. The 15th, the height considerations have to do with the clearance from the landing to the base of the machine. So that's actually about 14 feet if the elevator comes to the roof because of the height of the car. On top of that, the minimum height required by code for the machine room is 7 feet. So that's how we get up that high. Now, we looked, we've been through the mill on this, and 5 companies out of 5 for this application recommended the Hollister Whitney gearless baby overhead. The reason for that is because we cannot accommodate compliantly a basement traction machine. The reason for that is because the cable arrays are too big to fit between the hoistway wall and the car. So all I can tell you is that this has been absolutely exhaustive, and the manufacturer of the equipment makes certain allowance requirements that have to be met in order to service the equipment and operate it properly. It's been a long time in coming, and that's why there's been such a careful study of this. And the work with the general contractor, the elevator contractor, and the manufacturer has been extensive to reduce the allowances to the extent possible.
I just want to say the elevator in my building acts up often. So I've had about 40 years of looking at the elevators, the elevator shafts. So your explanation of how much space you need makes sense to me in light of all I've seen in the elevator in our building, which is operates a little differently, but I understand by your explanation the space that you need. So I'm pretty sure when people build things, they don't want to waste space. They don't want to pay for 1 more inch of space than they have to. And a designer and a contractor and architect don't want to add 1 more inch to a structure if they don't have to. So I would vote in favor of this. I might ask that the colors of the exteriors of your units more closely match the other colors in the building next to yours, but that's a call that you can make, and maybe even landmarks would bring that up.
Perfect.
So I believe everything you're saying about this. I understand all the space that you need to put this particular type of elevator in to the shaft. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say? Any non-committee board members? Shall we call the question on this?
I think you have a hand raised on the community. Shall I promote?
Sure.
Yes, please.
All right, Ms. Shugan, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. So I live at 355 Riverside, so I look down at this roof. And I don't object to my neighbors having an elevator so they can get to their apartments. But I do want to make sure that the board knows that what the proponents are proposing is a monstrosity. This thing is going to be huge. You'll notice that all the pictures that they have presented are from across the street, essentially from Riverside Park. And I will remind you, if you haven't been in the neighborhood recently, that the single most beautiful mansion on Riverside Drive is on our block. This is going to put a tremendous blot on the whole neighborhood. I want to also tell you that the building behind 352 is much less voluminous. It doesn't have that part on the side, the cage, the ladder, all of those things, and it does not go as high. The stucco finish, it's not at all in the style of the building. The caged ladder, you don't see that at all. It's totally out of style. And I just want to say that the roof is lovely now, and there are people who use it. And that for the people in the building, this is going to take up a lot of space and make a really, really ugly thing on the roof of the building, which will certainly detract from the enjoyment of the roof deck for the people who live there. So I really encourage you to encourage the building to replace their elevator at the scale that they previously had. Thank you.
I think Bob SBA is with us now, Mark.
I tried to promote him. I'm not sure if it worked.
Okay. Is there another raised hand? Is there another community member? Oh.
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Sedroyan, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Great, thank you. Thank the committee for convening this evening to speak with us. So I'm just going to mute this button. Okay, great. So I'm a resident at 353 on the 5th floor. And, as Joel mentioned, I'm an officer on the board as well as my colleague here, Michael Murray, who's sitting with me. We've been working on this project for over 2 years and explored every option, every opportunity. We I think spent 4 or 5 months during just trying to reduce the elevator size. And I live on the 5th floor. I've thrown out my bag carrying like fresh direct bags. There are people in the building who have mobility issues, and they really want to enjoy the roof. And the reason that 352 does look a little more modest is because they do have the machine room in the basement. And it, years ago, 60 years ago. And basically what we're faced with is, as Joel mentioned, because of code requirements, we can't keep the machine room in the basement. And this is really the only option we have. And we've been without an elevator for about two and a half years now. It literally, it's a 100-year-old elevator. It literally fried up, it burned. So this is really critical for us. I mean, we spent a lot of time on this, and the idea of going back to the drawing board and redoing this, it's just, it's really burdensome. It's a real discourage. Michael, would you like to add anything?
Yes. Yes, this is Michael Murray. I would just add to this about someone had commented that the roof doesn't look like anyone needs to go up there in the first place. It's actually a completely finished landscaped roof. It's quite beautiful and very carefully and neatly constructed. And if we don't have access to the roof, I'm an 81. I'm in pretty good condition, but it's very difficult for people to get up there. And it will eventually become half the co-op won't be able to go on the roof because they can't even make the narrow winding stairs that goes from the 5th floor to the roof level, if you see what I mean. And so it's not just an amenity. I would say it's a necessity for people who are not going to be so able in the future and are not now. Some of us have knee and leg problems, and there's at least 3 people in the building who have serious knee and leg problems. So the roof is very important to us, and we've tried to make this this addition as attractive as possible, and maybe the idea of making it all stucco so it's not red brick and whatnot, to make it more uniformly with the color of the one next door. And by the way, the one next door was built in another era, like 50, 60 years ago. I mean, that's when it was, well, it's originally part of the building from 1890s, but then the rules and their machinery is in the basement, not on the roof, you know, and it wasn't subject to the codes that we're now subject to. If the codes weren't the way they are right now, we could do it smaller, but the codes won't allow it. So we're doing it as tightly as we can, given the codes that we have, you know. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Kay, you want to call this? You want to?
Yeah.
We call the question.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we have all the information.
Just one more thing. We both residents in this building, we are both medical doctors at Columbia University, Mount Sinai. And basically, the elevator is helping and allowing everybody to benefit from the building for what they pay and for what they are supposed to be used to. Not having this is a discrimination against elderly, disabled, and basically tells people, well, too bad you cannot benefit from it because you are too old or disabled and you cannot go up. So I see it as a necessity for anyone in this building to benefit from the same, like everybody else who is young and healthy and can use the building to its full use.
I completely concur with my physician colleague, and I would add there are also mental health issues involved with being able to get out of a building, especially in COVID times and who knows what in the future, be able to go up onto a roof, to have a view of the horizon, the sunset, to enjoy that. It's not fair to discriminate based on a disability. So
who's talking?
I'm Dr. Lynn Collins.
And this is Dr. Maciej Domek. I'm the physician at Mount Sinai, and Dr. Lynn Collins is a physician at Columbia University.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't.
I just need it for the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I think we should wrap it up here. Mark, you've got something?
Yeah, and if we could stop screen sharing now, I think we've seen what we need to see, and so we can see our colleagues instead. What I was going to suggest is it's by way of a question to my colleagues more than to anybody else. One of the things that I find most difficult about this is that add-on to the back, and then all the structure that's necessary to hold that thing up so it clears the vents below. And while this thing is already taller than, we've seen any number of elevator extensions that are much more modest than this. So I'm not satisfied personally that all the stones have been left unturned. Although I appreciate the testimony about how hard folks have worked, and I don't mean to denigrate that at all. What I'm wondering is whether the impact would be lessened if, God forbid, we had to do it, but to take the volume that's to the one side and add it on top, and now you're talking, it's still going to be crazy tall, but the footprint would be smaller, and I think you could achieve what I was talking about before of making it look utilitarian by doing that, as opposed to having all that ironwork and this second structure. And so if folks were to agree, we could have a resolution that approves it in concept and recommends that they study that solution, if that could be possible. Otherwise, I think I'm still stuck on this. Anyway, that's my thought. I hope that's at least food for thought.
That's helpful. Thank you, Mark.
So,
all right, can we
could you
move?
give me some wording on that, Mark? Approve it with the recommendation that they further study of
moving the mechanical room mass to the top and adjusting the rest of the project accordingly. You'll have to further revise the chimney extensions, but that's a detail as far as I'm concerned.
With all due respect, it's not feasible. The access has to be to the side of the machine, and there has to be a big enough footprint for the servicing and the controller.
Okay,
I think we're trying to find a way to approve this
Yeah.
that lets us, request a little further research and a little further work. We're not telling you to do something that's not code compliant.
right.
Paige, what you got?
The last thing is, one part we didn't touch on, and that's any railings that will be going up on the roof, any other amenities, a cooker,
Grill.
barbecue, because when we get these applications where they usually tell us where things are going to go or any modifications for safety reasons. Apart from that, I do think there are elevators. One is called a LULA, low use, low access. And it's an elevator that is designed to fit into difficult situations like this. And I would encourage you to get your elevator consultant to see if a LULA elevator would work. It does not require all of the overhanging and machine rooms that others do, and they are code compliant. But I wish you well on this, but I personally, as an architect, can't approve this because it will be very visible from across the street. And also because of the gap between the apartment building on the corner. I just happened to be accidentally walking down there a couple of weeks ago, and I was amazed that of the space around the building. And I applaud the owner of the higher building to describe what is seen from their view. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to support this.
Call
Thanks,
the
Paige.
question.
Yes. All right, Michelle, you want to take the vote?
Sure. Kay,
Oh, I'm holding my nose and voting yes.
and I'm a yes, because this is going to be a resolution with a recommendation that they study a little bit further, a way to minimize the bulk of the mechanicals attached to the elevator shaft. Am I right? Those are the
Right.
basic words.
That's
So
what
that's the
what we're
condition.
voting on.
We had to freeze that out for you, but yeah, that's the idea.
Okay, thanks.
I'm a no. I'm a no.
Oh, yeah, I didn't ask, but I'll put you as a no.
And I'm frankly, I'm really uncomfortable about the way this conversation has gone. I don't think it's appropriate. This is very visible from the public way. It's just not appropriate at all. And I'm not comfortable with, trying to redesign something for an applicant when it's
Right.
not appropriate. And I also feel very uncomfortable about the suggestion that this is some sort of disability violation or something. I don't know. I feel sorry for the tenants, but I'm really sorry. It's just not appropriate.
Okay,
Thanks.
we got your no vote, Susan. Jay?
Yes, as long as we have a recommendation for further study and not a condition, then I vote yes.
Okay, that's how it's going, with a recommendation for further study. Is Paige, you're a no?
No, I'm afraid.
You don't have
Mark?
to be afraid.
I'm a yes with the recommendation. Thanks.
Okay. Clary?
Yeah, I don't think the recommendation is relevant to my vote, in part because it's just a recommendation, and in part because I think these people have told us they've explored every option. So I don't think the recommendation is going to lead to anything. And boy, this is a really tough one, but I think I'm going to join Kay, and he said it as I would have said it and will say it, which is I'm going to hold my nose and vote yes.
Okay. Madge?
No.
And Peter left already, and Susan, you said no. So the vote for the committee is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 3, 0, 0. Do we have non-committee board member votes? Barbara
Yes, I'm voting yes.
and Robert?
I'm voting yes.
Thank you. So for thanks. For non-committee board members, 2, 0, 0, 0. So the The motion passes with the recommendation that there's a little study done on the mechanicals. Mark will help me with the wording on that, and I thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a calendar date for LPC?
No, we do not have yet. We started
Okay.
the conversation with the representative, but we were hoping to be somewhere in September, right after your full board vote.
Thank you.
But still to be determined.
Please let us know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now we have, let me just ask, is there somebody here from the Ansonia Hotel? I don't want to break your heart, Barbara. But we could talk a little bit about this, but I didn't think they were going to show up. They're not compelled to. Be nice if they did. And maybe this deserves a little more study. Madge?
I have to go. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we'll go to 258 West 97th Street.
I'm sorry, I have to go also. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
Susan?
So we will strive to be more efficient than we were initially intending to do. So I'm going to just give a brief introduction, but I thank you for staying behind past 8 o'clock. And I thank you for seeing our proposal today. So the Fortune Society, I'm the president and CEO, purchased the hotel, the illegal hotel, which had been converted from an SRO in January of 2022. And we are seeking to basically build or convert or rehabilitate 84 units of permanent housing, including 59 supportive and 24 affordable and 1 superintendent. And I'm going to turn it over to our architects who will do the presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, hi everyone, I'm Toby Cornejo and I work with Curtis and Ginsburg Architects, and we're the architects working with the Fortune Society on this project. And I will share my screen. Just get to the right place. Share. Oops. Let's see. That is not working.
Getting there.
Yeah, let me just share it a better way. Hold on. Sorry.
If you're having trouble, do you have it? Because I can bring it up too.
I do have it. I'm just struggling with the multiple virtual worlds. Let me see. I just need to hide. Because are you seeing yourself right now?
We're seeing it. We're seeing it.
You're seeing it. Okay. All right. Good. Because I'm still.
Screen, if you can go to full screen mode, it'll be a little bit better.
Yep. I'm going to do that. I need to just hide this. Hide that. And then thank you for bearing with me. Let's see. Window. Present.
So this building used to have 89 units of housing in it?
Yeah. So this building is on 97th Street between Broadway and West End Avenue. And it was built in 1903. It's 7 stories. And originally in 1903, when it was built, it had 2 apartments per floor. And in 1947, or maybe sooner, but in 1947, there was a new C of O, and it was divided into 15 units per floor. And so it was probably one of the original single room occupancy sort of residential hotels on the Upper West Side. So this is a picture of it looking from the front. And so there are many small units in there now. There are currently actually 93 units in the building.
There are a lot of SROs on the West Side. I'm sure some of us
Yeah.
remember, sorry, go ahead.
Yep, sorry. So I'm just trying to figure out how to go ahead now. Oops.
So they're 90 units now.
So some of them were so small as to be unusable, which means that there are 84 in the scheme that we have.
You're not keeping it as 84 units, right?
We're keeping it as 84.
You are.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was
so-
90 plus units, and we are eliminating some of the units
Because they're so small.
because they're small. They're smaller than 70 feet.
Yeah, so so this presentation tonight is about two elements of the exterior renovation. But these two elements are part of a larger renovation project, both outside and inside the building. So just to give you a quick overview, to give you the context for the two things that we're seeking approval for, we're working on rehabbing this entire building with the Fortune Society. There are 15 existing tenants in the building, and we've been working very closely with multiple city agencies. This has been a very collaborative effort between the Fortune Society and the city and the neighborhood so far. And we're going to be working to make this a model of upgrading and electrifying the building and reducing the carbon footprint while trying to improve and retain the historic features that are there. So we're going to, and then also making the building more accessible. And so and then at the end of the day, we'll end up with 84 units of permanent housing. 15 will be from the original tenants that are still there, and the remainder will be for new tenants through the Fortune Society and from the neighborhood. So, sorry, I don't know why I'm having trouble. Okay, so this is in the Riverside West End Historic District Extension 2. It's right here on the edge. You can see it here. This is 97th Street to the north, 96th Street to the south, Broadway to the east, West End Avenue to the west. It sits between two larger buildings. The Old Paris Hotel is here. And then on the right side, there's a larger, newer building that was built in the 1980s that extends up to 34 stories. We went and looked at the original photos from the 1940s, and it was originally covered on the side. You can see it here on the left. By the 1980s, the newer building had been constructed, and so now this left side of the building is exposed. There's a one-story parking garage to the left of it with a community garden on top. And you can see here, this facade here in the back is one of the areas that we're going to be talking about. So there are 8 different things that we're working on the outside of the building, but 2 of them we're looking for your approval on. At the front of the building, we're looking to make an accessible entrance. The main entrance right now has 2 steps up to a landing, 3 more steps inside in a small vestibule. And so we're looking to put a new accessible entrance off to the side that goes through one of the current window openings. The other thing we want to do, if you can see here, there's a courtyard here to the west of the building and a courtyard here to the east of the building. And then we have a bulkhead on the top. And on all of those surfaces, because we're looking to electrify the building, we want to improve the envelope of the building and the thermal performance of the building. And so we're looking for your approval to put insulation on the outside of the building using an EFIS system that has a full drainage board behind it. Other things that we're going to be doing are upgrading the lighting both inside and out, replacing the windows at the non-primary facades, and adding some mechanical equipment at the roof in the rear to support the electrification of heating, cooling, and domestic hot water, possibly. And then we've got 3 fire escapes currently on the building. One is here to the west, one is to the south, and one is to the east. This one is only 1 story. Through some reconfiguration in the interior, we're looking to remove one of the fire escapes and improve the egress and give us a better exterior facade for the insulation.
Okay, tell us about this doorway.
Yes, getting there. My buttons aren't working as I planned for them to work. Okay, so we just wanted to show you. So here on you can see here, this is the street to the right. These are the 2 steps up, the landing and the stairs. We looked at a lot of different ways of converting the main entrance to be an accessible entrance, but we had just constraints that we couldn't surmount. This sort of small vestibule area, the program needs of the inside. And then as you'll see on the next page, all of the utilities enter the building under this area of the building. So what we're proposing is off here to just to the bottom, is bridging over the existing areaway and making a door into a vestibule. And we would provide a new 3-stop lift using a vertical platform lift. So not a Lula, but more of just a wheelchair lift, but in a full shaft. And that would allow us to give accessible access to the main floor, to the street, and then also to the cellar. And a big piece of Fortune's program is adding some community space in the cellar. So here you can see where the gas line and the water lines are coming into the building currently. And so if we were to try to adjust that front entrance at the main entrance, we would have to relocate a lot of the main utility pipes here. And so here on the left, right now there's currently metal work. It's not the original historic metal work, it's an aluminum fence. We're proposing here on the right to cut a hole in the fence to build this bridge. And there's a window opening here on the left that we're proposing to remove the window and extend the masonry opening down to the bridge, and to provide a new storefront door that would be similar to the current storefront doors that are here at the main entrance. And then we would add new lighting that would match the painted stone that's here, so it would be unobtrusive. And so we'll maintain the lintels, maintain the width of the opening, but just try to do something that's pretty minimal. We're going to be studying the lighting to make sure that it's unobtrusive at night, as well as during the day. And then there's a post here on the right, and we'll be adding a push button so that the door is operable. So on the next page, here you can see the existing areaway on the left, and we'll be bridging over using the same design for the fence as exists there now. And then we'll be filling in the masonry opening below. And the bridge will be constructed out of a metal grating. This is a diagram of the grating, but it'll be a pretty fine grating so that it's walkable, but also allows the drainage to go down to the areaway below. So this is the area that would get the work. And then these are some elevations of the side courtyard. So we're proposing this EFIS insulation here on the east side, all the way up. We wanted to put it on the back as well, but we have a non-compliant rear yard, and we can't reduce the depth of the rear yard in it. But here you can see where we're proposing to put it, and what we're proposing is that it would be the same. It would be a similar kind of cream color uniform. We would move all the windows out so they would have the same distance back from the new face of the facade. So we think that the wall would read very similar to what it reads now, but it would perform a lot better because it would have insulation on it, and we'd maintain the projections for the sills. So this is the other facade on the west side, doing the same thing. And here are some pictures of some of the existing conditions. So this will be an opportunity for the building to really clean up a lot of these wires that are on the building. Some are current, some are not. And you can see here on the right, the sills project a tiny bit, and we'll be able to recreate that projection with the new finished material.
But you're not actually moving the windows.
We will actually move the windows. So the existing one here is back about 1 brick depth from the current facade. And what we'll do is we'll bring the windows out as far as the current facade. So they'll be back a tiny bit further than they are currently, and we'll be adding 4 inches of insulation outboard.
That's my question. So the insulation will add 4 inches to the wall.
Yeah. So it'll add 4 inches, and it will have the same kind of cream color as most secondary facades are painted, as it allows a lot of reflected light to come back to other buildings nearby.
And this is a
Um,
technique used when it's too expensive to go inside each individual unit and add insulation?
So it's not necessarily less expensive, but as we said in the beginning, the units are very, very small. And there are some existing tenants, and we can't legally reduce the size of the units. And so this allows us to get the thermal performance to allow us to do the electrification while keeping the unit sizes constant on the inside. There are some, renovations that do definitely put the insulation on the inside. It does create some challenges with condensation, and it just has to be very carefully calibrated renovation to get the vapor barriers and the air barriers to work. But it's certainly possible, but in this case, we can't do it because of the size of the units.
Jay, did you have a question about this? Okay.
So these are just a couple other pictures. This is looking down on the window. So you would see, we're working with a couple of window manufacturers now, and just working on this joint. So we may have to reduce the size of the masonry opening a little bit, but the current, like the old historical design had a pretty heavy brick mold. And I think that the glass will still be the same, and the reading of the window will still look right. At the top, we're going to be bringing the EIFS all the way up to the top, and so we'll be widening the camelback coping that's already there. We'll be putting on a new one, but it will be wider to encapsulate the insulation on the outside of the parapet and on the inside of the parapet. And then we will be adding a code compliant hand railing at the top. So there's some things here, like the railing, I think, are part of the staff review rather than the community board. But that's one element of the project. And up here, this is just showing you the existing bulkhead, and it won't be red, it'll be cream. And on the left here, we're just outlining where the future mechanical equipment will go. For the full commission presentation, we have some sightline analysis of the mechanical equipment. And these are just some specifications of the EIFS. And thank you for having us on this late on this night, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. I see Mark, do you have a question?
A question and a comment or two. Looking forward to this project and its implementation. The question is, if I'm understanding you correctly, there'll be a bridge across the areaway that leads to an alternate vestibule that will in turn have some manner of lift in it. Is that how it's working?
Yes.
Okay, so that in my view is preferable to the necessary but not as appealing solution that we had on 79th Street, where they also cut a window into a doorway for the Project Find process. So I think this is an appropriate, if not elegant, solution, and I support it. What is the color of the EIFS that you're proposing for the envelope behind the?
Yeah, I mean, we want it to look like it's always been there, so we'll pick a color that's close to the existing cream on the brick. We haven't picked the exact color yet, but that's the intent, is that it would match the paint that's already on the brick.
The brick being painted is itself a shame, but okay. If I were to recommend, the grayer or darker you make it, the more likely it'll look like what it's supposed to into the future.
Okay.
And then the question I have for you, and I'm sure you've looked at this, but I remember our board was called upon to vote and did in fact vote in support of zoning or amendments to the zoning resolution that allowed the application for without increasing FAR or without increasing the degree of non-compliance by allowing allowing a building to add insulation on the exterior of the building and on the roof, especially in circumstances like this where it is not practically feasible to do so from the inside, and not to have it increase the level of non-compliance. I assume you've looked at that, but it strikes me that this is exactly what they were talking about when city planning.
We had,
yeah.
Yeah, we have looked at it. There's some multiple dwelling law, state multiple dwelling law issues too, with like livable light and air windows in the distance from the lot line. I agree. It's it seems like we should be able to run the EFS around the back of the building. We haven't gotten to the point of putting it on yet, but we did look, and at least to the letter of the regulations that we've reviewed, it's not possible, but it's certainly something that the project would be happy about doing if we could find a way to make it possible.
Okay, and the last question is the storefront door that will occupy the new opening will match more or less the storefront. That's I don't want to cause the project to have an increased budget. The current doors are not enviable, but as long as they match, I suppose it'll be okay. So they will match in some manner?
They will match in some manner. We have 2 points of view on it right now. One is to make it match the anodized aluminum that's there. That's definitely not original, but it's historic in its own era. And then the other, we're going to look at the windows originally looked to be a light color, like more of like a linen cream color. And so the door could also match like a linen-y window, but we'll look at both.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions? Paige?
Just
And then
quickly,
Jack.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Paige.
Very quickly. So the ethos is going on the visible secondary facade, not on the back, but on the non-visible, correct?
Correct. I'm trying to figure out how, yeah, it's going up here where it's really not visible except to the residents in this Paris building. And then here where it is a little bit, where it is more visible. At least this part of it here, you can see diagonally from across the street.
My only concern is I'm an Upper West Sider and we have a wall that is constantly being repaired. It's about 8 feet high and it contains a playground, and the same ethos is applied, but it gets gouged. People carve their initials in it. Drug dealers make pockets and put drugs in it. And I'm just, the building is so pristine. Isn't there a way, given that not all the walls are going to be ethos, that you would consider pointing the brick and making proper openings? Because I think this, once your facade is up, the ethos does nothing to support the beauty of this little building. And I would just ask if you would, I'm going to support the project, but I do think the ethos is not appropriate on the side of a historic building like this. I'm sorry.
So I hear you. We are going to be repointing the brick and doing a full masonry restoration. At the front of the building, we're going to be stripping the paint that's there and seeing what's underneath. And if it's salvageable, we want to keep it as the original brick surface. If it's not, we'll work to find a breathable masonry coating that is suitable. Similarly, the stone at the base has the same issue. It's all been painted. But we're really cognizant of trying to find a way with upgrading the building systems to also upgrade the envelope at the same time. And we felt this was the least intrusive way to do it, given the constraints of the building. And that the drainage systems of EFS systems today are much better than they were originally. At the base of the building where people can actually touch the EFS, we'll be using a high impact version of the EFS that has a lot more mesh and fiber on it. So it will be less prone to some of the things you were describing.
Okay.
And similarly at the bulkhead, anywhere a person could reach and touch, there are different levels of finish, and we would be using the sort of most robust version of it. So you couldn't just, kick it with your foot and make a hole.
Right. No, I appreciate the secondary explanations that you've thought of everything. On these types of projects, we need housing. So good luck, good fortune.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paige. Jay?
Yeah, can you bring up the rendering of the proposed front of the building with the new door?
Yes, let me just skip ahead here. Just find the right picture.
Yeah, that'll do. So Mark mentioned, you know, I wouldn't call it an objection, but like something might be done better with the new door, but that at least it matches the existing storefront doors. And my question is, looking at the front of this facade with the existing railings and the gate and the metalwork on the windows, it seemed to me it would be far more aesthetically correct and attractive and appropriate if that new door mimicked the windows and the railing rather than the storefront doors.
We can certainly look at that. There's a building on the Upper East Side. I forget the name of it, but it has beautiful ironwork over the storefront.
Well, are you willing to commit to doing that?
We can't commit to doing it. This is a severely budget constrained project. But it's certainly something that if we can do it, it's something we would like to do. We could come back and show you what that looked like.
Okay,
before we did it.
So my comment is that unless, again, we're talking about a split vote, because I have no problem with the insulation, but I wouldn't vote for this door mimicking the storefront doors. As Mark said, we don't take into account expense, and while we're all supportive and sympathetic to the mission of the owners of this, the new owners of this building, I think just looking at it, it seems to me anyway, pretty obvious that that's what needs to be done. So if the chairs want to split it, fine. If it's a one vote, then I won't support it.
Toby, what is your estimation of the cost of the iron?
I would guess it's going to add like a few $1,000s more.
We can commit to it.
Yeah,
we can commit to it. I think that when I look at the door now and I look at the door mirroring the metalwork, I think that we can commit to that.
So does this come in as a recommendation, Jay?
Well, as long as they are willing to commit to it, I think we should recite, assuming we're going to approve the project, we should recite the fact that the approval includes the commitment of the applicant to mimic the metalwork.
Jay,
Yes,
I think that I'm convinced that
Toby, is there any reason why it couldn't be done structurally before we commit to it? Forget the cost.
there's no reason it couldn't be done structurally. It will also enhance the security of the door too.
And it will,
So
and it
there's-
will be more beautiful.
and it will be more beautiful. And, you know, and we can use, the existing fence is not original, but it does have some decorative features that we can also use in the door.
Thanks.
Grill work.
Yeah.
Very much,
What you're
very
suggesting.
much appreciated.
No, what you're
No problem.
suggesting makes the project better.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
All right,
So
thanks, Jay.
give me the wording on this, Jay, just briefly, and then we'll refine it.
Sure, why don't, rather than take the time, why don't I send you an email?
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So we'll do this as we won't split we don't have to split the vote now.
No.
Okay.
Anybody else from the committee or the community board with a question?
There's one person from the community has his hand up. Shall I
I
promote?
see that. Yes, please.
All right, Mr. Filler, you should be able to unmute yourself.
And
Maybe you could stop screen sharing so we can
exactly
nudge him. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Mr.
Mr. Filler, you're here. Would you like to unmute and share something with us? Going once. Perhaps he's gone off to watch the hearings.
Okay.
He unmuted. No, he didn't. Okay.
No, he didn't.
Okay, well, if he comes back. Meanwhile, Michele, I think anybody else want to share anything? Robert, you got anything that you want to offer? Or
No. I think it's quite a brilliant solution, and especially the add-on that Jay on that door, the features added to the door, just adds to a very good plan.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll take a vote on this. We have Madge is gone, Peter's gone, Susan's gone, Clary?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Paige?
Yes, and greatly well done. Thank you.
Jay?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, and Kay?
I'm with Paige on the greatly well done.
Okay, so for the committee, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0, 0. And for non-committee board members, Barbara
Yes.
and Robert SBA.
Here. Yes.
Okay, so that comes in as 2, 0, 0, 0. All right, terrific. We learned a lot this evening. And appreciate that you came here. And when are you going in front of LPC?
So we are also, I think, lined up for your board meeting on the 6th and then scheduled for the public hearing right after that on the 13th.
Okay, great. See you
You both
again.
times.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Good luck. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. So quickly, Barbara, what do you want to do about this? We'll ask the Ansonia to come back. We'll ask them again.
They probably won't show up because I have a long history of trying to tell them what my issues are. But if you could show that photo that I supplied, Mark, do you have it?
Did you send it to me? I'm sorry.
No, I sent it to Jesse.
You know what I think we can do, Barbara? I think just send me a letter about your points, and I think Jesse is able to talk to somebody over there. Maybe we can get.
Wait a minute. Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
We got it.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to clear everything else from my desktop. I wasn't prepared. I was not prepared to do this.
Well, there it is.
I am really sorry. All right, here.
Am I able to contribute at this point?
Who's that?
Oh, this is
Steve Filler. I'm sorry. I apologize. I hadn't set Zoom up on my phone to use the mic. And in the process of doing this, I hit a couple things real fast and mixed it out and nullified it.
So you want to talk about 258 West 97?
Yes, absolutely. Very quickly. And I don't want to tie anybody up. I mean, we're all busy people. I totally understand, where we're all going. It looks like everybody's okay with having that window opened up into a door. I have lived in that building for almost 20 years. I'm in my 60s. I'm a vet. I have damaged kneecaps. I have scoliosis, degenerative disc disease. Try to imagine what it's like crawling up 3 stairs with an electric mobility scooter I use with 2.5 gallon water containers on it. If I fell back and I went through that glass window, I'd own that building. I'm not interested in that. I just want to get in there safely. It's essential that they have the opportunity. And the previous owner had that building for 20 years and never made an effort to create any accessibilities. People should be commended for extending themselves to create an accessibility option in that building. And it's absolutely what that building needs. It's the safest, smartest thing to get it in compliance and make it usable. And I would be in complete support of any gesture they make to do that.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Certainly. My pleasure.
Okay, good. So the Ansonia.
All right, so look, there's nobody here. I hope that you can contact the LPC because I don't think the Ansonia will ever respond or ever show up. I have a long history with this. This photograph is taken from my terrace. Can you see down here? Can you see my
Yeah,
you see
the top.
Okay, so this is my parapet wall. My apartment is on the top floor. I'm on the northeast corner of 74th, and this is looking at the southwest corner of the Ansonia on the other side of the street. Okay, so my issues are these. First of all, and although it doesn't look that bad in this photograph, I was urged by a number of community board members to bring this to your attention. They just underwent a $30 million renovation, not a renovation, but a restoration of this building. As you probably know, there was scaffold around it. It's an individually landmarked building. The paint color that they chose for the top is really unsightly. It's like a bright green. This dome, many years ago, maybe 20 years ago, was painted in that color. It had been copper, and I guess it's some sort of a copper paint that has aged in time and is very appropriate in my opinion. Same one all over on this side. They did this entire restoration. They restored some of the window frames here. They restored some of these porthole windows at the very top. But this area here has been missing its molding, or I don't know what you call it. I know there's a balustrade, maybe there's a better terminology, but it's been missing forever. My brother lives in this building. He's lived there for many, many years. I'm very familiar with it. They've never made any effort to correct this. And now that they've done this whole renovation and they left this part out, I just feel it's outrageous for this beautiful building.
Okay.
And Barbara, the thing that the balustrade and I guess it's sort of a mini cornice on top of that mansard roof. Am I understanding you correctly that is there's two issues that I'm hearing. One is the color of it.
Yeah, and you can see that it's missing that whole cornice up here and also along here.
So that's some sort of filler that was put in years and years ago and they haven't fixed?
Correct.
Okay, and then the color, I noted the color because it is kind of shiny when I was walking by it.
It's painted.
I guess we need the applicant for this, or not the applicant because they've done it, but the ownership, because I interpreted the shininess as being just some sort of coating that they put on, like a pre-patinated coating onto the copper that's already been weathered. So I guess we don't know what they did to make it shiny.
I think they painted it in semi-gloss paint. That's my hunch. This was
Wouldn't they
never
have had-
copper here. This
Wouldn't
part
they
was
have had
never
to get
copper.
approval?
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, they would have
They
to
would
have
have,
it.
so this, Barbara, this, I assume, has all been approved at LPC.
Well, I don't know.
We can ask them.
It just
Yeah,
doesn't seem
I
reasonable.
think that, not to cut it short, but I think we need to get the history of, when this was done, when it was submitted. Was it staff approval?
Yeah.
Was it, I don't ever remember a public hearing on this. Mark, you have a better memory than I do.
This has not come before our board.
Yeah, so.
It might be a staff level.
Other things have, but this has not.
Yeah, so if it required a public hearing, we would have seen it.
Yeah.
So I assume it had, number one, it had to be approved, and number two, it was approved at staff level. And I think we need to, just establish, what the procedure was when it was done. And then it might be appropriate if we all agree that it's inappropriate to, since we have no application before us, at least maybe send a letter of some kind to LPC expressing our concerns and our feelings about it. But I think the first step is for the co-chairs to write a letter to LPC and ask them for the history of this work.
Can I offer a shortcut? These applications, this would be a CNE, a certificate of no effect. If it bypassed us, you can get those online. You just.
That's fine, good.
And tomorrow I'll look it up.
Great.
I'm kind of meeting out right now. The thing is that it's very disturbing is it's okay for paint because the Landmark Commission sort of allows funny coatings that look historic, but I agree with you that the change in the decorative components, if they were putting a whole new roof on, they could have bloody well copied the original copper cornice cap to go on it. And I don't see also any other security railings. If they were to do this properly, they would have had to put some sort of rail up there as well. The buildings department is really cracking down on safety for even maintenance people. And I remember when they used to sling the swing stage scaffolding off these things and dangle people when they were doing the work below. So there should be a full record of everything they've done. And Jay, I'll make sure you get a copy of it. And
Well, yeah, why don't you just
see what
circulate
happens.
it?
I will, to everyone.
Yeah, give it
But
to
I mean,
everybody.
Yeah.
To the committee, obviously, and Barbara.
Yeah, but I
And
mean,
let's take a
you
look.
raised a good point, and yeah, this is weird. All that effort and they blew it on the very top.
Exactly. And, they had scaffolding going all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
And we thought finally they're going to do something about that. And they didn't. They just, they just slapped some paint on it.
All right, so we'll rely on you, Paige, to get us some
Yep,
documents.
I'll send it
Also,
tomorrow.
Jesse, thanks. Or the next
Great,
day.
thanks.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
I'd
you.
be most grateful.
Thanks
All
for
right.
staying for the whole meeting, Barbara. I think we're
Thank
going to
you.
adjourn. We can adjourn the meeting now.
Yep.
Please.
I think we can.
Thank you.
All
Have a
right.
great weekend. Good job,
Thank you,
folks.
everybody.
And stay
Thanks,
cool.
everyone.
Above all, stay cool.
Take care.
Thanks,
Stay as
everybody.
cool as you are.
Mhm.